Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. Buckle up, as it's a long one, and don't forget to listen to the end of the story to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories, guys, and please like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. I, 30 female, am getting married in about a month to my best friend, 35 male. I did not grow up knowing my dad, 55 male, very well, as him and my mom divorced when I was an infant. He remarried and has several kids with his new wife, who hates my very existence. There was a lot of hurtful things done when I was growing up, like not being allowed in her house when I visited, that led me to be estranged from my father. He never really made much of an effort, but after I was 18, I completely cut him off for my mental health and stopped answering the few phone calls he attempted. He tried to get into contact every once in a while over the years, but I honestly just ignored him. I was hurt and angry. About a year ago, I got back into contact with some extended family on his side and have been forging a good bond with all of them. I invited them all to our wedding, and they've been amazing. Eventually, I started speaking with my dad as well, back around Christmas, and it was tense at first, but I decided to just give him a chance. We have slowly been getting a semblance of a relationship back, and I saw him in person with my fiancé a couple months ago. His wife is not pleased at all, and apparently their kids, my half-siblings, all adults, are also upset about it. I think there were threats of divorce, but my dad still decided to go to my wedding. After a ton of thought, I asked my dad if he wanted to walk me down the aisle, as I've been hopeful for a better relationship, but he turned me down. I wouldn't be as upset if he gave a generic excuse, but he told me his wife and other daughter requested he does not walk me down the aisle, as that is reserved for his other daughter and not me. I am super hurt and not even sure what to reply to that with. He offered to stand at the front and give me away instead, but that isn't what I want. My fiancé thinks we should uninvite him and move on, but I'm not sure if that is the best course of action. He's coming from out of state with the rest of his family, so he already bought a plane ticket and hotel room. Part of me thinks to just politely turn him down, have him as a regular guest, and then just stop talking to him again after the wedding. My mom isn't coming to my wedding because she lives really far away, so I don't really have any other immediate family coming. I'm not sure what the best course of action is, and the wedding is getting super close, so I have to make a decision soon. Edit. To answer some common questions I'm seeing. No, his wife and my half-siblings are not attending the wedding. I invited them, but they won't even meet me, let alone go to the wedding. He has 2 sons and a daughter with his new wife, all in their 20s. I'm not sure if my dad cheated on my mom with my stepmom. My mom, through all her faults, never actually said a bad word about him. He did marry my stepmom by the time I was 2 years old, though, so there wasn't much time in between marriages. They are also very Christian in the worst way, as in they don't really follow what they claim to believe. My mom cannot fly, as she has panic attacks. She also is actually a worse parent than my dad in a lot of ways, believe it or not. I have no male relatives to walk me down the aisle. I also never wanted him to give me away, as I think that is dumb. I just wanted my dad to act like my dad for one moment. My fiancé and I have decided to walk down the aisle together as one of you suggested, so that part is settled. Oh dear, I'm angry on OP's behalf. I'd tell him flat out if he wants a relationship with OP, he needs to show it and stand up as a father and walk her down the aisle. However, if he doesn't want to do that, he is admitting OP is not his daughter and he is just a sperm donor. OP does not need someone that can't stand up for her. If he refuses to walk her down the aisle, OP needs to strictly cut him out of her life because he's only going to cause pain to OP and her family. And now let's see if the community agrees with me. Deleted user says, I would not want a relationship with a man who saves walking down the aisle for his important daughter. What would you want that at your wedding for? He doesn't view you as his daughter. He isn't a father. He's just a sperm donor. Jen5872 says, Dad, either grow a pair and remind your wife and kids that I am still your daughter whether they like it or not, or don't come to the wedding. You can't sit on the fence anymore. You either be my dad or bow out altogether. This in-between, I can be your dad as long as my other family doesn't get too upset, no longer cuts it. It's too painful for me. Dekion says, his wife and daughter are a-holes. What happens if they have another daughter? Would he not be able to walk her down the aisle? I'd cut ties. He doesn't even seem to want to fight for a relationship. Update. I'll start with what happened right after my 30 female last post. I did uninvite my dad, 50 male, from my wedding. The whole interaction was too hurtful to let go of. Before telling him I was uninviting him, I spoke with my aunt, his sister, Sandy, 50s female, who was furious at her brother for what he said to me. She has been such a great support of me and my husband, which has been amazing, honestly. After I sent my dad an email detailing how hurtful he had been and that he was uninvited, Sandy called him and yelled at him for being a jerk. He replied to my email with a bunch of nonsense deflection about how he has to make sure both sides are happy, but apparently told Sandy, not me, he was sorry and that it was a miscommunication. He claims to Sandy that he was only trying to negotiate with me and that he would have walked me down the aisle if that was what I really wanted. I highly doubt that. My mother-in-law, who is extremely conservative and religious, actually said my dad needed to grow some balls, which shocked literally everyone. I replied to him that I stood firm on my decision to uninvite and to not contact me again until after the wedding, but that if he did contact me at all, it better be with the understanding that he needs to be present in my life the same way he is with his other kids, otherwise to not reach out again. Around this time, right before the wedding, I called my mom and asked her about what really happened with her and my dad when I was a baby, because she never talked about it with me growing up. Unlike my dad and stepmom, my mom never said anything bad about my dad to me. She was always neutral, positive about him, which I've since thanked her for, as it let me come to my own conclusions about what a deadbeat he is. My mom and I had a good cry about everything, and she let me know how aggressive and awful my dad was to her when I was a baby after they split up. I also found out that he married his new wife when I was less than a year old, which is insane considering my parents were still 100% together the day I was born. Sandy swears up and down that she introduced my dad and stepmom to each other after my parents split, as they, stepmom and Sandy, were classmates in college. I don't really care either way at this point. It is just interesting to see how no one has a clear idea of what happened. My thought is that they were cheating and then used Sandy to introduce them to cover up their behavior. Keep in mind they were all very Christian, even though they clearly don't follow any of their religious teachings. I didn't hear anything from my dad during the wedding, and Sandy and her family still came. We all had a blast, and everyone was so happy for us. The pictures turned out great, and there isn't anyone in them that I wish I could Photoshop out. So I definitely knew uninviting my dad ended up being the best decision we could make. I talked to Sandy about my dad over the holidays, and she said that him and his wife and kids were refusing to go to any family dinners or parties because they were upset that everyone else talks to me. I have been in regular contact with Sandy, my Uncle Jerry, and all their kids, which makes my stepmom feel betrayed. Sandy is pissed at her because they used to be friends, but never understood what her issue was with me. I found out my stepmom treated me like crap the second she had her first kid when I was still a toddler, which probably doesn't surprise anyone. I didn't hear from my dad all through December, but finally in late January, I got a random email from him. He sent a long email blaming me for him not being in my life, telling me his wife and kids are more important, but that we still need to be in each other's lives. It was the most BS email he had sent me so far, and completely disregarded my wishes back in October when I told him to not contact me unless he was going to treat me like his actual child. I ended up not responding and just blocked his email. I also told Sandy to not share any of the pictures or videos from the wedding with him, and to not talk about me with him. I think this will be the end of the relationship with him, since he clearly is incapable of being a parent to me. I feel a lot more at peace with everything that happened, and am completely okay with how it all turned out. One commenter on my original post said something along the lines of not knowing if my dad would have been a bad parent, since he wasn't around, and that really has stuck with me. Thinking about it now, he probably would have been even worse had he actually been in my life. Unfortunately, both of my parents are emotionally stunted, but I made a good use of the life that was handed to me, and will hopefully break the cycle with my own kids one day. I didn't mention in my post that my husband and I are going to be moving to the same state as my family in the next year. I was worried at first being closer to my dad, but honestly, he and his bitter wife and kids can do whatever they want. I'm just going to live my life how I want to. We were planning on moving to the state before I ever got back in contact with my family, so we will continue to do what is best for us. Anyways, thank you again, kind Redditors. You really helped me not feel sad or upset for my wedding day. My sister was a single mom to my niece Ellie for 8 years. Then she met her husband Rich, and very quickly she ended up pregnant. Ellie really didn't know Rich at all by that point, and she wasn't thrilled. My sister was of the opinion that Ellie would come around in time. After baby Liam was born, my sister set up these cut photo shoots for Ellie and Liam, and she involved Ellie in the pregnancy, which was something Ellie resisted doing. But my sister basically gave her no choice. When Liam was 1, my sister found out that Ellie and her BFF Hazel were talking about the new half-sibling in their lives. Hazel's half-sister was born a couple of months before Liam was, and neither of their half-siblings were a real sibling. My sister heard Hazel and Ellie say how they didn't love or care about their half-siblings, their stepdads, and how they didn't have a real family anymore. Hazel claimed her mom replaced her dad, and that she would never want the replacement family. Ellie told Hazel she missed it being just her and her mom, and she never wanted a dad like her mom seemed to think. She also said Liam was just a baby. She didn't get all affectionate and protective like most of the family said she would. She said if Rich took Liam and left for good, she would be kinda glad. My sister contacted Hazel's mom and stepdad, and she told them Hazel was no longer welcome in our house. When Ellie didn't change toward Liam afterward, she told her she could no longer see Hazel anymore, and their friendship was over. My sister told me about it at the time, and I asked her how she was planning to do that, and wouldn't therapy be better? She said they just feed off each other too much. She went to their school to try to get them separated, but the school refused. She wanted me to pay for Ellie to go to a private school to get her away from Hazel, but I said no. Now Ellie is 15, and surprising few, except for my sister and Rich a small bit. Ellie and Hazel are still friends at school and have never lost contact. Apparently, neither girl feels very different either. Ellie now has a new half-sister, Olivia, and Hazel has 2 half-brothers. My sister lost her crap when she found out, and when she confronted Ellie, she was told by Ellie that Hazel is the most important person to her anymore, and she would never give her up for them. My sister grounded Ellie, and has tried to make her want to stay away from Hazel, but it doesn't work. My sister has brought this up a few times since finding out, and the other day she accused me of not ever appearing surprised that Ellie disobeyed her. I admitted that I wasn't, and I always knew trying to take Ellie's best friend from her would be something Ellie wouldn't go along with. My sister accused me of not being honest with her, by not saying this sooner, and of wanting her marriage and family to fail. She also accused me of being arrogant and thinking I know Ellie better than she does. She also claimed I knew and had seen the girls together, which is untrue. Am I the a-hole? You can't command someone, especially a child or teenager, to feel differently. OP's sister managed Ellie's introduction to her new partner very badly. You can't force people to love others if they don't want to, and then blame your daughter's friend for that. OP's sister is lashing out. Her anger has nothing to do with OP, and everything to do with her own inability to deal with the situation. Ultimately, all OP's sister is doing is fracturing her relationship further, to the point where the minute she turns 18, Ellie is going to move out and keep contact at the absolute bare minimum. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Little Manager says, not the a-hole. Telling someone not to do something, especially at that age, will just increase their desire to do it. Unless the friend was getting the daughter in trouble for actions, she shouldn't have tried to separate her best friend from her. All she has done is make it so her daughter won't feel like she can go to her mother and introduce hiding things like a friendship when her mother isn't around. If anything, you have strengthened or kept your relationship good with Ellie for being someone that she can talk to and trust later down the line. Is this Rabbit says, not the a-hole. Your sister has a fantasy about a happy blended family. It's a fantasy. Your sister was aware of Ellie's feelings and tried to force change by removing Hazel. Even if she had succeeded in removing Hazel from Ellie's life, Ellie would have continued to feel the same and possibly met someone else in a similar situation to share her thoughts. Ellie's behavior generally would have given clues that her feelings hadn't changed. Some families blend, some don't. Therapy sometimes helps. Your sister needs to wake up and face reality. Aqua Venetus says, not the a-hole. Your sister has ruined her relationship with her eldest daughter. She just hasn't realized it yet. That poor girl. I, female 16, lost my mom in a car accident when I was 13. My dad met Ann 1.5 years after my mom's passing. Ann and I were getting along okay. We were not best friends, but we never had any issues either. Ann suggested to my dad that I should move in with my grandma after the wedding. So I've been living with my grandma for the last 12 months. I'm not gonna lie, I felt like I was being kicked out of my own house because no one wanted me there. Since my half-brother is born, Ann has been expecting me to help out. She calls me all the time to come on over and help her around the house, so she can get a break from the baby and rest. I told her the last time that I had schoolwork and I can't come. She suggested to come over another day then. I told her that she and my dad didn't even remember my birthday. Why should I care about them? Why should I even help? She got angry and called me a mouthy little bee. She said they were busy with a newborn and had no time for dumb stuff like this. She hung up. Now I keep getting texts from my dad telling me to apologize to Anne and help her with my brother. Am I the a-hole for not helping out? My grandma thinks I should be respectful to Anne since she is older and she is family. She didn't even want you around. Now she wants you to come by and be a babysitter? No, absolutely not. There is no excuse for forgetting a birthday of a child. Even if they have a newborn, OP's dad should have remembered. Also, OP is not responsible for their child. They are. If they can't handle it, then maybe they shouldn't have had one. It's a horrible thing to do to kick out your child from home after you bring a new woman and have a new family with her. My heart breaks for OP, and I think her father doesn't deserve forgiveness ever. And now let's see if the community agrees with me. Rokia1 says, they kick you out of the house, then want you to come over to clean it and help with their baby, all while ignoring your birthday because they had more important things to do. Nope, do not go back there until they treat you right, not the a-hole. Anne is trash. Your dad is bigger trash for not standing up for you, not the a-hole. You owe them nothing. Nervous Drawer says, first of all, you are not the a-hole here. Your dad hooks up with Anne barely a year after your mom's tragic accident, and now they want you to play the role of a live-in babysitter? Seriously? Anne suggesting you move in with your grandma felt like a classic get-out-of-our-way move. Now she's calling you for help like you're on her speed dial. Girl, please. Then, when you rightfully express your feelings about being forgotten on your birthday, Anne goes off, calling you names and dismissing your feelings. And now your dad is Team Anne, asking for an apology and more of your time for free babysitting services? Oh, hell no. Your grandma might be playing the respect your elders card, but let's be real. Respect should be a two-way street. You deserve better, and Anne needs a lesson in empathy. No, you're not the a-hole. They need a reality check.